Pick a move in the ring. You can hit me with the words you fling.
Normally, I'm just on my own in the podcast room, but we thought we'd upgrade to the video studio today, Patrick, didn't we?
Yes.
Because we have a very special guest with us, a certain Mr. Jason Tobin, star of Warrior and the upcoming Fast and Furious 9. Jason, thanks for joining us. First of all, how are you doing?
Thank you very much for having me, guys. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm doing great. Thank you very much. I just came out of the gym, did some jiu-jitsu this morning, lifted weights, feeling great.
Yeah, Hong Kong born and bred, aren't you? So.
That's right, yeah, born and bred in Hong Kong. Yep.
Yeah.
And I think, obviously, we got to have our fanboy moment off the top of the show. So, for people who don't know, you play this character, Young Jun, in the Cinemax, well, take us through Warrior. Tell us about Warrior, what it is, who you play.
Sure.
Let us have our fanboy moment here and geek out a little bit. So.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, if you're a Bruce Lee fan, you'll have heard Bruce Lee talk about Warrior. Famously, I think it was in the Pierre Burton show, the Lost interview. Bruce Lee talks about a show that he wanted to make called The Warrior. And essentially, The Warrior, the concept that he was talking about in that interview, kind of got hijacked and became Kung Fu with David Carradine. And so, obviously Bruce passed away, and so did that show and his idea. But save for Justin Lin, Shannon Lee, Cinemax, HBO, Jonathan Chopper, coming to save the day 50 years later. They took Bruce Lee's original writings and notes and characters and riffed from there and created this awesome, action-packed, pulp-style TV show about Chinatown set in the 1870s, and during what they were called, during what was known as the Tong Wars, when Chinese Tongs were fighting each other for power, money, opium trade, and all that kind of stuff. And so I play in this TV show a princeling of the most powerful Tong boss in Chinatown, and I'm at first the party animal, the womanizer, the sociopathic killer. But then, as you watch the show, you start to realize that not only is he those things, but he's also very loyal and extremely ambitious. And in season 1, we get to see that, but season 2, we really up the ante. And season 2 is going to be out in October. So,
and where is it on? What's going on?
The
question.
The question. I need to know, Jason.
Okay. Yes.
I heard it got cancelled on Cinemax, and I was crying. Yeah, what's going on?
Okay, so it has not been cancelled. So let me put that out there first. And no matter how many times I tell someone it's on Cinemax or HBO Asia or on Sky in the UK or whatever, they're like, "Oh yeah, great! I'll check it out on Netflix." It's not on Netflix. It's not yet. Anyway, it's not on Netflix. It's a Cinemax HBO original series. In the United States, it'll be on Cinemax and on various HBO channels. I think it'll also be on Amazon, and in the UK, it'll be on Sky, and I think throughout Europe, like Italy, they have Sky there as well. South Africa was like Mnet, Australia, Foxtel or something. Basically, a different channel for whichever country you're in.
And season 3, is that been given the go-ahead yet?
So season 1 is out. It's available for the public to watch. Season 2 is in the can. It's now getting its last little polish, and it'll be out in October. And season 3 we have not shot yet, and that all depends on the reaction from the audience. So if we get the love,
everyone go and watch it. That's
if
right.
we get the love,
please. We want some more
totally.
Warrior.
It's a great show. It's a really good show.
It is a great show. I love it.
Yeah.
I watched every episode with my friend here on. We get it on HBO on demand, and you were our favorite character. I'm not just saying that. Young Jun, we love Young Jun. You're so cool.
Thank you so much, man.
Do you get that a lot? Do people always gravitate towards the character?
Yeah.
He's a bit of a badass, isn't he? But with a soft side.
Yes, exactly. You know what? I've been getting a lot of love for this character, and it sounds a bit arrogant. I was about to say rightly so, but what I mean by that is just it's such a well-written character, and he's so well-written, and when you talk about animation or just great characters, one of the things that we talk about is like you want to be able to recognize them just from their silhouette, right? And I think with Young Jun, like just the way he stands, the way he moves, the way his bravado, the cockiness, like it's so much fun to play. And it's funny because like, you know, I had a bunch of friends that I've known for most of my life come visit me on set, and they told me that when we were filming at Cape Town, they're like, Jace, you walk differently. And I'm like, and I do. Yeah. I'm like, I've got the freaking swagger, man.
The McGregor strut.
So this is a great question. So people ask me like, where did it come from? And obviously, like, you know, I have many influences. One of them obviously being Bruce Lee. He's a massive. I'm a massive fan, and I'm sure it's pretty obvious. You can tell that I am. But Young Jun really is, for me, like a mixture of Bruce Lee, a bad Bruce Lee, the naughty, dirty, you know, Bruce Lee, sociopathic Bruce Lee, and definitely Conor McGregor. Wow. I definitely use Conor McGregor. Absolutely.
That's awesome.
You know, just to me, actually, like there are parts of Conor McGregor that remind me of Bruce Lee. Even, you know, from a long time ago, I just remember thinking, this guy's got something. And I definitely bring that to Young Jun. And what's interesting to me about that is that, you know, I'm half Chinese. My dad's British, but we are from an Irish background, right? Tobin's an Irish name. So for me, you know, Warrior is all about the Irish and the Chinese. And so I was like, you know what? Perfect. Conor McGregor, Bruce Lee, slap them together. Jason Tobin is Young Jun.
Now, I gotta say, there's obviously another minor project that you worked on recently. We kind of have to touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
So, Fast and the Furious 9. I remember seeing you in the Super Bowl commercial. I was like, I know that guy. So take us through that, you know, side project that you've been working on as well.
Man, okay, this is so cool, right? So like, Justin Lin and I have had a long relationship. Justin Lin is the executive producer of Warrior. He's obviously the godfather and the director of most of the Fast and the Furious films. And he and we did a little film that was a Sundance Film Festival hit in the early 2000s. He became the Hollywood director that he is now today from that. And at the time, I worked on Tokyo Drift. And it was, interesting enough, Justin at the time had really wanted to cast me as Bow Wow's role. Do you guys remember Tokyo Drift?
I vaguely,
barely.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember Bow Wow was in it.
Yeah. So he had, at the time, he had wanted to cast me in the role of that Bow Wow ended up playing. And if you remember, Bow Wow's character's name is Twinkie. And Twinkie is the sort of the nickname for an Asian American who's, you know, yellow on the outside but white on the inside. And so, anyway, long story short, you know, the studio and with Bao coming on, and they wanted to put him in a good position, and it worked out for the better. And so I actually never thought like my role was ever going to come back. I literally just thought it was a one movie deal, and you know, and that was it. So fast forward, you know, 15 years later, right? Because like
that's a long
Tokyo
time,
Drift came out in 2006, right?
Yeah.
So I wrap Warrior season 2, and Justin Lin sends me a little email, just literally one line. Hey man, congrats on wrapping. By the way, working hard to get Earl back into the Fast franchise.
Wow.
And so my first thought was, I know I'm not supposed to swear on this, but my first thought was, who the F is Earl? And then I'm like, oh, that's me. I was Earl, and it's been so long. And then I told my wife, and she's like, who the F is Earl? And then when I actually finally spoke to Justin on the phone, he said the same thing. He's like, yeah, I was telling the producers and Vin and everyone that this is my plan. And everyone was like, who the F is Earl? But anyway, long story short, I got to spend a couple weeks in London towards the end of 2019 shooting F9. And, you know, on a project like that, you can't take photos, you can't upload anything, you can't talk about it. The NDA is so like, you know, it's serious. You know, a big film like that, they don't want any leaks, right? And so when the trailer came out earlier this year, I was shocked I was even in the trailer.
Oh, they didn't even know that
I had no
in the
idea.
trailer.
Wow. You know what? I literally woke up, you know, started drinking my coffee, and then I noticed like, whoa, my social media is just blowing the F up overnight. I'm like, what's going on? And I'm like, oh, the trailer came out. I must be in it. So of course I like went straight into it.
Oh, wow.
And you know what? Even though I've been talking about like this who the F is Earl thing and how I kind of turned this into like a hashtag, the truth is, man, so many people reached out to me. There's so many fans. People really love that movie. I think I knew it was a big film, but I didn't quite understand its reach. It really like resonates with a lot of people.
It has its own little place in like side culture, like underground culture.
Totally.
Like it's kind of like the outlier of the series, right?
Yeah.
But there's like a weird following for it.
Really?
Yeah.
So I'm always surprised because I feel like I'm not particularly memorable. It's not you know what I mean? Like I'm not saying I wasn't good, but it just certain roles. Young June is a real he's like a bright shining star, you know what I mean? So I can understand why someone would remember that. But Earl, he's cool. It's an enduring character, but I didn't think he was going to have that kind of impact. So I was really pleasantly surprised that when I returned to F9, how many fans reached out and would quote my dialogue. Yeah, people. I'm like, I don't even remember.
Which
my
I'm
lines.
sure you've forgotten.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So one of my lines in Tokyo Drift is something like, my grandma's blind in one eye, can drift better than you. And the number of times people have quoted that to my face, man, it's like it's hilarious. The other big quote I get a lot, people quote me, is they'll come up to me and from Warrior they'll be like, "Hey, let's go get some stickies."
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Because does the real Jason Tobin
Yeah.
have as much fun as Young June, or is it just training?
Well, okay, how do I answer this question?
Because the gang's always drinking in the bar.
Without incriminating myself. Let's just put it this way. I'm a dedicated actor, and I like to put the work in and make sure I really understand who and I'm playing and for what reason.
Method acting.
Method acting.
Yeah. Okay.
I will say that when it comes to partying, I have done my fair share, but that's not me anymore. I'm like that was a different era, and with any role that I get, it's kind of like an equalizer, right? On your amp or whatever you call it. It's like, okay, I'm going to turn up this part of my personality. I'm going to turn down this part, and I don't have a lot of this, but I'm going to raise this. So it's like finding parts of yourself that naturally fit for the role, and then if there are things that are lacking, then that's when I start to have to use my imagination. But yeah, like it was funny because do you remember that scene? I think it was in episode 3. Assam comes back right from prison, and then we're celebrating, and I'm on the bar, and I'm like Assam, our boy's back, and then I bust open a bottle of champagne, and I start shaking it. And actually, I have never done that before. I've never been one of those guys like.
No, really.
But man, it came pretty easy to me. I got really into it. And then Hoon, the guy Hoon, who plays Chow, he was in Banshee, right?
Yeah.
He's like, "You look like you've done that a lot." I'm like, so to answer your question again, like, I think a lot of people that know me personally may not be able to see. If I tell them, "Oh, I'm playing this character," they'll be like, "Oh, I can't see that." But then people that don't know me, who only know me from my work, assume I am that person. So I can only take it as a compliment. But now that I'm back in Hong Kong, I don't walk like Young June anymore. I'm now like shoulders together, squeezing through MTRs. Whereas when I'm Young June, it's boom.
Well, I think we wanted to get you to talk about Bruce Lee, but just what's the update on Fast 9 quickly? You were about to do a media tour before the coronavirus.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so F9 was originally supposed to come out last week, I think. It's now been pushed to next year to the slot that was assigned for F10.
Oh.
So we were supposed to shoot F10 end of this year.
Were you going to be in that as well?
I don't know. I don't know.
I love how the NDA is in the corner of your mind.
Yeah. What
like,
can I say?
Can I say this? Yeah.
You're fired.
Yeah.
So now it's going to come out next year, and I'm not really sure what's going to happen with F10. I spoke to a director, a friend of mine, this morning, and he was saying that during this whole lockdown, shutdown in America, and all productions being halted, today in the last few days was the first time he's hearing chatter of like people trying to like maybe bring things back in July, but it seems awfully soon. I don't know. We'll see. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
So
Yeah.
good segue here.
Yeah.
Obviously, 30 for 30 ESPN series. I mean, this is an iconic series. I always remember, I think my favorite's obviously the Ric Flair one where we find out that Ric Flair is just a raging alcoholic. It has been.
Everyone knew already.
I think we knew already,
yeah.
but it was just... and then we've obviously had The Last Dance with Michael Jordan
Yes.
recently in that ESPN biopic series. And now June 7th, we're going to get a 30 for 30 on Bruce Lee.
So cool.
Yeah, and I don't even know where to start with this conversation because you have so many ties. You know, Hong Kong born and raised. This guy was your icon growing up. Now you're playing in a treatment, in a TV show done by a treatment by Bruce Lee himself. I don't even know, like, if there's like a favorite Bruce Lee moment you want to start with, or a movie, or anything. Like, what's been going through your mind lately? Like, or even over the past couple of years with all of this.
Man, wow. You know, first of all, like the fact that ESPN is going to do a documentary on Bruce Lee says a massive amount about how important he is. We all know he's an icon. We know like how important he is and has been. But I feel like the fact that ESPN has decided to like do this documentary about him, like, it's different. It seems like another page has been turned, and it just goes to show how influential he's been. You know, in my life, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like you know, when you look at Bruce Lee's representation in pop culture recently, right? Like, you know, obviously last year, you know, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, there was a Bruce Lee character of Bruce Lee was in the movie, and there was some controversy there. You know, then we have our show, right? And then you hear about, you know, MMA, and you hear, you know, someone like Dana White saying that he's the grandfather of mixed martial arts, but then you hear someone like Chael Sonnen who says he was a wimp, and you know, so a lot of this kind of stuff has been floating in my mind, and I think, like, you know, I get what Chael's saying, because Bruce didn't fight in MMA. That wasn't his. He was in a different era, and you know, I just think that Bruce Lee, man, if you saw a young Bruce Lee right now, you'd be like, holy crap. I mean, you'd look at him like, oh my God, this guy is gonna. You could see that, man, this guy's got talent. This is a guy that could go really far in MMA, and I guess he'd probably be fighting in what, bantamweight, right? Or maybe even light, maybe in flyweight even.
Yeah, around there.
Yeah, right, because he would have probably dropped weight, but like.
Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, who knows? Who knows? But can you imagine Bruce Lee fighting like T.J. Dillashaw and like Henry Cejudos and like DJs? I mean. So
it's so interesting.
It's so interesting.
You don't know.
You don't know.
You'd think if he grew up in this era, he'd be just brilliant at it.
Absolutely, and you know, like I get Chael's point, but you know, Bruce Lee was so much more than those things. I mean, philosophy is important. It's really important. And like, you know, he led the way, and for me, like, even when I look at myself as an actor, the way I trained as an actor, I used the philosophy of Jeet Kune Do to become an actor, which is that I'm only going to take what's useful, and everything that's superfluous or BS. And there's a lot, and a lot of times people can't pinpoint what is good acting, what isn't. They think it's like hocus pocus, right?
Yeah.
And so then you end up with a lot of teachers that are fakers. They just, you know, they end up talking, and you know, and so when I approached acting, I really approached it with a Jeet Kune Do mindset, which is I'm going to learn from the best teachers, take what's useful, discard what's useless, and use what is uniquely my own, and make it my own, and more importantly, live Bruce Lee's philosophy, which was to honestly express myself in my work as an actor. Like, I am going to give 100%, and I'm going to make sure that no one can play this role the way I am going to play it. And you know, Bruce was a massive, massive influence on me. And I've been thinking a lot about this recently, because there was all this brouhaha about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Bruce Lee's portrayal. And the bottom line is, Tarantino is not a Bruce Lee fan.
No, he's not?
He's not.
I didn't know that. You would think he would be like his number one fan.
You'd think, but like, you know, he's a fan of Leo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt, and you can tell he like created them with such love and care and nostalgia. He loves that era. He loves it. Bruce Lee was a character in that era, and he threw him in. But you can tell that a Bruce Lee fan would not make Bruce Lee look like that.
No.
Basically, he did what directors back in the 60s did to Bruce Lee, but in 2019. You know, they kind of made him, they ching-chonged him, you know what I mean?
Yeah, this was a huge point, wasn't it, last summer? I remember the traffic on all the stories we wrote was crazy, so you saw it firsthand. But so it's Brad Pitt's character, Cliff Booth, fighting Bruce Lee, played by Mike Moe, I think it is. Yeah, who did a great job, I thought.
Mike's great.
Yeah.
I love Mike, and nothing against him. You know, as an actor, I would have taken the job, even though I'm sitting here ranting about it.
In a way, I feel kind of sad for Mike Moe, because it was his big break, and now it may just have hurt his career in a weird way. But anyway, Cliff Booth seemingly gets the better of Bruce Lee in a 2 out of 3 rounds fight. Yeah. You don't get a conclusive end, but it's kind of mocks Bruce Lee's character a bit.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Like, you can see that Tarantino is a fan of the two characters, his main protagonists, right? The DiCaprio and the Brad Pitt characters. And for the Bruce Lee almost like served those characters. You know, if you're really a Bruce Lee fan, you would have treated him differently, I think. You would have been a bit more fair. And the other thing is, for example, like if I were to make a film, right, that was an homage to the cowboy genre, the Western genre, right, there is no way in hell I would not have a character in that film that represented the John Wayne, the cowboy, the Clint Eastwood, right? You would definitely have that archetype, and even in our episode 5 of Warrior, right? In the
love
right?
that episode.
Yeah, love
so
a great
much.
episode, right?
Yeah.
We have that cowboy archetype. He's the one that's like, Chinese Smith, dig tunnels real well like worms, that guy. So even in that episode, we already have that archetype, because there's no way you would make a Western without paying homage to that character, right? The tough guy, the tough cowboy. So let me ask you this. So if I'm going to do an homage to the martial arts film, is there any way that I would not put in an archetype of a character of a badass Asian martial artist, a la Bruce Lee, a la Sonny Chiba, name any like martial arts star?
Why would you mock him? Yeah.
So So let me ask you a question. In Kill Bill, who is that archetype?
Oh, going back.
Oh, I haven't watched Kill Bill in a long
been
time.
a while.
Yeah.
There is no archetype of that in Kill Bill. There is none.
That's a good point.
Right? There is none. In fact, they take Bruce Lee's suit and put it on the lead actor, Uma Thurman, right?
Well, that's right. Yeah,
right?
she's wearing basically that Bruce Lee jumpsuit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kill Bill, the title character, is I love David Carradine, but also a reference to the person that took.
Well, he's the guy that basically got Warrior, which became Kung Fu. They couldn't cast Bruce Lee because he was too Asian, or he was Asian, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the only Asian male characters are like bad guys and like some goofy dudes, right? Like Sonny Chiba plays a kind of goofy whatever. But where's the archetype? Where's your John Wayne? Where's your Clint Eastwood? So that just tells me that actually, and then watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I go, okay, so Tarantino's just not a fan of Bruce Lee. That's it, fine. And actually, I'm ranting about it now, but actually, I love Tarantino movies, and I actually really enjoyed Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I liked that film.
I loved it. I really enjoyed it.
Annoyed me.
That part annoyed me, but you know what? The world's a better place for having a Tarantino film. Like I wouldn't, you know what I mean? The thing about Tarantino, and ironically, even though I've been dissing him about not being a Bruce Lee fan, he lives the Bruce Lee philosophy, which is he is uniquely himself. Like Tarantino films are unique, and as a film buff, as someone that works in films, I love to watch films that have a unique voice, and more power to Tarantino. And when I get to make my film, I'm gonna, and if it's about Bruce Lee, I'm gonna make sure that archetype's in there. And going back to the controversy last year, it's like, well, you know what? I understand why you're upset, but then you know what you should do? You should come over to our side and watch Warrior, because this is Bruce Lee's DNA, and we are killing it.
Yeah.
So forget about, if you don't like the role that of Bruce Lee in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
I feel
come
like
check out our goods.
Tarantino would love Warrior. Though.
I know.
That's
what's ironic.
It's gory and bloody.
Totally.
It's like it's got Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs in it kind of style. Like, why? He just seems like the last director that would ever do something like that, right?
Yeah.
Like, just odd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know Shannon Lee. Sharon did not like it, right?
She did not like it. No. Yeah.
I know you must have a close relationship with her working on the show.
That's right.
Just how upset was she? She get a lot of interviews.
You know, we talked a little bit about it, but we didn't talk too much about it. But yeah, I mean, obviously everything that she's already said in public is kind of how she feels, and I think, you know, we were in agreement that, you know, Tarantino may think he's a fan, but he's not, you know what I mean?
Mm.
No, not really. But that's cool. That's fine. That's totally fine, man. That's, you know, it's just, you know, he's not into it, and some things he's into, some things he isn't. I would have loved that to have had Tarantino love Bruce Lee, because man, a Tarantino Bruce Lee movie sounds pretty damn awesome.
But
I guess Warrior is
so much
that
as well, right?
The
trailer looked awesome with the Bruce Lee character.
Yeah,
just a huge disappointment.
Yeah,
he read the room so wrong, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, playing it for laughs.
Exactly.
Why would you do that?
Yeah.
And then he doubled down saying, "Oh, well,
cocky.
Bruce Lee was arrogant.
He was arrogant. He was kooky. It's okay. Yeah. Well,
is there any truth in that, you think? I know he had a little self-belief in him, but
you know, I mean, obviously I'd never met him, and I'm sure he was cocky as well. But I've been cocky and I've been humble. You know, like. I mean, we're human beings, so I mean, you know, like Bruce Lee was a badass, and he, you know, so, you know, when people talk about Tiger Woods being arrogant or something, I'm like, he probably needed. Duh.
Probably have to be.
Right? Like,
that many majors.
I don't even see it as a criticism. It doesn't make any sense. I think if you're arrogant with nothing to back it up with, then you know.
I think it's really interesting, because I went back and watched obviously the famous interview, the Pierre Berton show interview, the Lost interview.
Yeah.
And that's when we got some of these famous quotes from him, the be water quote, honestly express yourself as martial arts and all that type of stuff. But it was funny going back and watching that. His philosophy really struck me. Like, he's a really deep guy. And even I just watched Enter the Dragon again. And there's a lot of philosophy in there. Like, it's like you said, it's not just about fighting with Bruce Lee. Like, this is a mindset and a mantra, and like, it's like how he lives his life, right?
Right, exactly. So he was so much more than, like, I mean, he was groundbreaking in so many levels, right? I mean, look, think about his philosophy towards martial arts and about like, you know, traditional training. What, 50 years later, we're still watching videos of like MMA guys beating the crap out of like traditional, you know, Tai Chi masters in Hung Gar or whatever.
Oh, we had one last week.
Right, and I'm like, man, I thought we got over this. I thought this argument was settled, but clearly not. You know, and yeah, I mean, the philosophy, it changed. You know, changing people's minds and the way of thinking is so important. And you know, if Chael Sonnen thinks like, oh well, Bruce Lee didn't fight in tournaments, okay, but man, he changed the game, and he was iconic, and he did it in an era where there were no other Asian men in Hollywood. Like, I mean, no one has achieved his success since. No one to this day.
Yeah.
To this day, no one has on that level. So, yeah, I mean, I'm biased. I'm clearly a fan, but you know. What did I like about Bruce Lee the most? He was just damn cool. He was cool, man.
He is, yeah. He had a swagger. He had a swagger to him.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
You went down the rabbit hole, didn't you? You rewatched
every
Bruce
6
Lee
movies.
film.
I watched all of them, I think, and I think it was funny. The thing that I took away from it was that he had that swagger. Like, every once in a while he would do a wink, or he would do like a cool gesture, or there would be a little bit of like comedic relief. Kind of dispersed in, and you saw that not only was this guy, because I think a lot of guys in martial arts that are in movies now, they come from martial arts and they come across as being cardboard.
Yes.
But then your character, like Young Jun,
Yeah.
obviously he's got some wicked fight scenes with like knives and all that stuff. But he's a full-blooded character, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it just seems like he was the first guy to sort of give fighters, kind of a character to them as well, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, one of my favorite Bruce Lee films, I mean, I pretty much love them all, but one of my favorites is Fist of Fury, right? And I think we talked about this before, which is like, obviously he's this unbelievably badass martial artist fighter who comes back for revenge. But then, like, he plays all these other goofy characters where he's, like, pretending to be the cable, the telephone repairman, and he's, like, the rickshaw driver, right? And so I really enjoy that, as particularly in Young Jun, that I can be the sociopathic, martial artist, murderous, Tong boss, a gangster, and at the same time be really goofy and funny, it's like, and so I often, there used to be a time in early in my career, I would try to put like a little Bruce Lee, like, homage in every role I did.
Oh, really?
Just for my own satisfaction, you know what I mean? Like a way I say a line or just something. But then when I got to Warrior, it was just like, it's all there, man.
It's
easy.
It's easy to bring it out.
It's easy. It's so easy, yeah.
I want to circle back a little bit. You've obviously been doing a lot of training for Warrior. You learned a lot of skills. We're gonna have a video coming out later about you doing some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training in town.
Yeah.
For all the MMA junkies out there,
Yeah.
can you run us through some of the stuff in Warrior, like some of the training and the choreography? Because I know that's such a huge part of it, right?
Yeah, well, let me backtrack, man, because before Warrior, I actually hadn't trained in martial arts in many, many, many years. I had grown up a big martial arts fan, obviously, as a Bruce Lee fan as well, and competed growing up in various sports. But at a certain stage, I stopped training and life took over and just went a different way, started working in kids and what have you. And then when I got cast in Warrior, they had not asked me a single question about my martial arts ability, because they wanted to cast me based purely on they were looking for an actor, and they were probably going to just use, if the actor couldn't perform the fights, then they would have a double. So Jonathan Tropper, our showrunner, never once asked me my martial arts ability.
Really?
Never. But once I got the job, I messaged him and I said, hey, what's the situation with training? And he says, look, we've got a stunt team, it's an amazing stunt team headed by Brett Chan, and great bunch of guys, and you can train as much as you want or as little as you want. And I was like, great. Because there is no goddamn way that I'm going to be on a Bruce Lee TV show and not train my ass off. You know what I mean? Like, I am going to go all the way. And this is probably one of the greatest gifts that Warrior has given me, is that it gave me permission to fall in love with martial arts again and fall in love with martial arts training. And it's just, the last few years has just been amazing because of it. I mean, and now I my Jeet Kune Do is, I'm learning BJJ. I learn how to box, Muay Thai, and do Jiu-Jitsu. And then, obviously, on Warrior itself, it's choreo, right? And that's a whole different kind of training. Obviously, like there are real fighters out there that can look really amazing on film, and there are real fighters out there that don't look good on film, because it's about angles too, right?
Yeah.
And even if you're not fighting, as an actor, you need, it's technique. It's you know where the camera is, you know what kind of lens it is, and you know how big you can be, where you can move, what looks good. And so martial arts choreography in films is exactly the same. And I was really unfit when I got to set. I saw
the photos.
Yeah, dude. I arrived, because I think I got the job, and then I was on a flight like within 2 weeks, and 2 weeks was just not enough time to get in shape. But I dove head in, and we have this amazing, like, we have this whole, we call it a tent, but it's not a tent. It's just a big shell of a building. and inside it's just this massive place where we do all our choreography, do all our training, and everything's laid out. And actually, for season 2, we had all of Vin Diesel's equipment, because apparently between season one of Warrior and season 2 of Warrior, Vin had made a film there, Bloodshot.
In South Africa.
Yeah, in the same studio that we were at, and so he had all his own equipment. And then I guess when he left, he didn't want to. He just left it there. So we had like,
that's such a Vin Diesel thing to do. I'm just gonna leave this.
Just gonna leave all my gym equipment, like good stuff too, you know. And so obviously with Warrior, it's a lot of it's choreography, and I have a stunt double. What's interesting about Warrior is that we have various stunt teams. We have like an international stunt team that's more like Canada or America, right? And then we have the South African team, and then we have a team from China that does a lot of the
oh wow,
you know, exactly.
Yeah.
And then in season 2, we had a bunch of Kazakh guys come work with us, and they're really great with horses and martial arts as well. And martial arts choreography is obviously different because we're not trying to hurt each other, but it is about, you know, in MMA we're like F kata and all that stuff, but actually when it comes to martial arts choreography, it's great. You know what I mean? Like, which is interesting because Mike Bisping was on Warrior season 2, right? And of course, you know, I was totally fanboying. You know, oh my God, that's Mike Bisping, and we're having dinner one night, and I was like, what can I say to Mike? What can I say? And then I said, Mike, so how do you like training for movies and TV where you don't have to actually hit people? And then he just laid into me. You know, like Mike doesn't take any crap.
Yeah.
He must have heard that like a million times because it wasn't a very intelligent question. And he's just, right. I don't remember what he said, but it was like, he was just like, whatever. No, he was super cool. He's a real gentleman. And
well, there's an infamous story, isn't there, about Mike Bisping
in South Africa.
He's talked about it a lot, but so he got ganged up on one night coming home to his hotel. Got in a fight with about 10 guys or something.
So apparently, I think he talked about it on his podcast, right? Yeah. And so actually, I know the area pretty well where he's talking about, and it's a bit sketch. I mean, Cape Town's a really beautiful, beautiful city. It's probably at the moment my most favorite city in the world, and but there are definitely some areas and times of the night that you shouldn't be in places, especially when you're drunk, because clearly they're targeting those types. And actually, a couple times some people had tried to pickpocket me, but fortunately, like, you know, I had zippers in my pockets, so they couldn't get in. But yeah, that Mike Bisping story is pretty funny. Well, and this goes to show, right? I think we talked about it earlier, which is if Mike Bisping's scared of those, former middleweight champion, like a total badass, like, you know, imagine me, you know, like, who literally spends every day practicing hitting air, you know, and missing people.
Well, yeah, some people may not know. You are a huge MMA fan, right?
Yes, absolutely.
An MMA podcast, so I just wanted to ask you
about
your fandom of MMA. What do you watch? How much do you watch? Who's your favorite fighters?
Man, this is going to be a long podcast if you get into this, man.
Just brief as you can.
Well, man, I love. There's so many great fighters. I mean, you know, recently, obviously, I mean, you know, watching Gaethje Ferguson, that fight was unbelievable, and I'm so excited to see Gaethje fight Khabib. And then earlier this year, wow, the Zhang Weili and Joanna Jędrzejczyk fight was unbelievable.
Amazing fight,
wow,
fight of the year.
Oh my God, to me, definitely, right? Like it's. And when the shutdown happened, I thought, well, guaranteed it's going to be fight of the year. But yeah, that fight was unbelievable. Which actually goes back to that thing about that Tai Chi master that got knocked out last week.
Oh yeah.
Apparently he had said like, oh, Zhang Weili is stupid and I could beat her up. I'm like,
what? You said
that? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, stupid.
What?
Just
you are so deluded, man. You're so deluded. Well,
is it just UFC you watch?
Right now, I do have a Fight Pass, so
I just signed up.
And
what else are we gonna do?
Yeah, exactly.
Days.
And so what I've been doing is just been going back to like fights or cards that I don't remember or haven't seen, and then just pretending like, okay, it's a fight day, you know?
Yeah, I've been going back to like UFC 50 from there around like the first season of Ultimate Fighter. Just that's my entry point really. I want to because I'm kind of new fan myself.
Yeah.
It's just great having all these old fights. But yeah, I guess we have one championship here in Asia. Do you watch any of that?
I do. I started watching one recently, and in the last couple of years I've been getting into it, and I really want to. I had planned to go on 2 trips to go watch one championship fight, but both times, well, the most recent one got cancelled because of the coronavirus, and the other one also something happened where I can't remember what it was, but it was something came up and it got canned. But both times I was like super keen to go watch. So as soon as they're back up and running, I'm going to be there.
They were meant to be in Macau later this summer.
Brilliant.
I was very hyped up, and then they cancelled it.
What a pity.
Yeah.
But you know, like you, I'm sort of new to MMA as a fan because years and years ago when I stopped doing martial arts, I kind of stopped watching as well. Maybe I'd watch an occasional fight or whatever. But like I said, once Warrior came about, then I started to really appreciate it again. And then now Fight Pass is awesome because now I can go back and just watch, you know.
Yeah, I thought you were a fan. I just see you commenting on Instagram below fighters saying, not trash talking, always respectful.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see who your favourites are.
Well, I have to say I've been very impressed with Henry Cejudo. I mean, I've loved watching. Yeah, just retired. I've loved watching him. I've loved watching him come up. You know, and yeah. So, man, I hope he doesn't retire because I want to see more from him.
Yeah, it could all be a ploy.
Yeah, it could be all a ploy. But you know what? There's so many fighters. I mean, God, you know, let's go down the list. You know, like very excited to Masvidal.
Yeah.
Masvidal. Oh my goodness.
This guy,
he's
Patrick
so
seems to have an agenda against George
Masvidal.
Yeah,
you know,
I wrote a column saying that he fell into this vacuum where none of the big market fighters were fighting, and when he won the BMF belt over Nate Diaz, obviously the stoppage, he was like the most famous UFC fighter for like 6 months. So I did a column and I just got flooded with hate mail.
Really?
Like it was like emails and I had to shut my Facebook down for a bit.
No
they did not like that.
Really? Oh my goodness.
Because I called him a journeyman.
Yeah.
Oh no! Really? That's hilarious.
But
you know what's crazy? I don't take that as an insult. I don't think that's an insult.
Yeah, it's almost like a badge of honor. Hey, like Cerrone. Cerrone's a journeyman. Yeah.
In fact, I have called myself a journeyman actor for many years. For a long time, I felt like, you know, I'd gone to Hollywood, I trained and like, you know, became an actor, worked on films, TV and everything, and then like just started like playing in the lower leagues, you know, like doing like the Asian tour or this tour or that tour, and then working my way back up. I mean, there's so many great athletes that have done that. So I don't take that as I think that's a mad compliment that he's a journeyman who then one day, you know,
finally rises to the top.
Turned the key and became something else. That's a great story. I don't get that. I don't get the hate.
I just think he has got double-digit losses, but they're all decisions and questionable decisions. He's never been knocked out in spectacular fashion. He's the one doing the knocking out, obviously. But I could see both sides of it. Why people would be angry. But, moving on.
Moving on.
Anyone else?
Anyway, I'm a big Masvidal fan. Big Masvidal. I love.
This is Weili Zhang as representing China, the first Chinese champion. Is that something that you gravitate towards too?
I do. I
guess you've never had someone on her level in UFC, right?
Yeah, you know, like politics aside, right? Like, I'm so proud to see a Chinese woman be a UFC champ. Like that's amazing. And she deserves it. That wasn't
great.
You know what I mean? Like, man.
She's humble as well.
Humble, tough as nails. Man, and she fought her heart out against a bona fide champion in Joanna, right? Like, I mean, that was no freebie.
I think the thing that stuck with me about her was watching those UFC vlogs that they have leading up.
Yeah.
And she's like actively trying to learn English.
Yeah.
She's interacting with fans. Like she seems like she's making a concerted effort to like wear that mantle.
Totally.
To like be the Chinese fighter and to like bridge the gap.
Yeah.
Like she's not just kind of showing up and fighting and leaving, right? Like she's on social media, she's active with her fans.
She's also a huge Bruce Lee fan.
There you go.
That's awesome.
I guess we have to bring it back to Bruce Lee.
We've got
to.
So, what
and
else?
apparently she's a huge Ferguson fan. I mean, who isn't a Tony Ferguson fan? But I mean, there's something I love about Ferguson, like is the way he trains, and and like, you know, how he throws in a little bit of Wing Chun every now and then.
Yeah.
You know, it's so cool.
Tony's crazy.
Yeah, he is crazy. I love that dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, wondering, back to Bruce Lee, I don't know, maybe we could all share like our favorite Bruce Lee moment or something like that, or I don't even know. Like it's funny because when I went back and watched all the movies, going back through Bruce Lee, it was like, it's almost like going back through a time capsule.
Yeah.
But it was funny because it seems like he, like you said, he has had a bit of a resurgence now.
Yeah.
With Warrior, with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And I guess maybe there's a question for you because you seem like you're totally coming into this wave of BruceLee. Like, do you ever find like you're on set for Warrior and be like, is this actually happening? Like, is this, I'm in a Bruce Lee treatment. I'm playing a character that Bruce Lee imagined in his mind. Like, did you ever think like you would find yourself in that type of role?
Man, I have to pinch myself. It's a cliche, but like, I mean, I have to pinch myself, and I feel so much responsibility that, like, you know, this was a huge thing for him. Like, he wanted to make this TV show, and can you imagine how disappointing it must have been to someone who is of his caliber, of martial artist, actor, you know, and that passion project is going to someone else, and then doing the whole yellow face thing. I mean, that must have been devastating to him as a personally. So now here I am, and I've felt those kinds of disappointments in my life, probably not to the degree that he did on that. So when we were making this show, I was like, man, I'm going to embody Bruce Lee's philosophy, and I'm going to like tear this motherfucker apart, man. You know, I'm going to leave that bloody carcass on the savannah.
You're
gonna have to bleep me out on that one. Sorry. You get the idea. But never was I on set and nervous about it. I wanted it. I wanted it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
So you felt like it was this is your time.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
is my opportunity.
Yeah,
right?
like, you know, when they talk about certain players, that's like, you know, the clock's running down, and they're like, there are certain players that like, don't give me the ball. And there's other players that won't give me the ball. I was like, come on, bring it, man. Come on, give it to me.
That's awesome. That's great. Because I would think that I would be super nervous if I was going on a set like that, knowing like the whole meta narrative story of it. I'd be like, oh man, like I want to do Bruce Lee right. But you were just, because I think that's what I love about Young June is that like it's 100% with him.
Yes.
And you can see that you totally give 100% in the character. Yeah. And like you totally own it and all that type of stuff. And it seems like you're really 100% embodied him, right?
Yeah,
like you just woke up every day and you're like, I'm 100%.
I'm going for it. Yeah. See you later. Yeah. I mean, I'm just having the time of my life, man. Like that role is just so enjoyable to play. It was, man, I can't wait to cut my hair, put on that suit again, man. I can't wait. Yeah.
I don't know, if you're asking for favorite Bruce moments, I've got the armbar for me on Sammo Hung is something you can link to MMA, right?
Yeah.
It was so innovative. Yeah, finishing a fight with an armbar.
Yeah.
That's when people ask, why do you call him the grandfather of mixed martial arts?
Right,
for me, that's so innovative it was at the time, and that's what Bruce Lee always did. He was, as his philosophy is, taking not just one style, but all the styles, bring them together.
That's right.
I don't know, what's your favorite moments?
You know, it's interesting you bring that up because, like, the other thing about Bruce was that he invented like a lot of equipment that we take for granted now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So, you know, and so his philosophy on training. I mean,
strength and conditioning. He was way ahead of everyone. He was using techniques from the NFL. I think.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. So, and
the thing that you stick on your body. The
the muscle thing.
Yeah, he was doing that.
Unfortunately, I don't actually buy into that. I think that's hocus pocus. But he was obviously
trying.
But he was trying. He was doing loads of stuff. Right?
He was drinking raw hamburger shakes and things like that.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he was the first one. Like he started embracing nutrition and like what you were putting into your body and like recovery because he obviously had the back injury, which was a huge thing for him to overcome, right? And so for him to be able to come back from that, I think I think it was funny watching the documentary. I think that's when he realized that he wasn't completely invincible.
Right.
And that's when he seemed like he changed his mindset.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because like I mean, even myself, I remember like I had trained martial arts, you know, throughout my childhood, and then later on, I was living in Los Angeles. I moved there to be an actor, and then I was training at the Innocento Academy, right? And I was taking basically every class that they had, you know, whether it was Muay Thai, Eskrima, boxing, or they had shoot-off classes. And I think early on, I ended up doing like a inter-club tournament. I had like I guess, I don't know if you'd call it MMA, but it was a shoot-off fight. We did wear, you know, headgear and other protective gear. And at the time, I was fairly decent with my hands and my striking, but I had no ground game at all. And I lost like to a very like textbook, you know, armbar, speaking of armbars. And I took it really personally at the time, right? But at the time, my ego took over, and I was like, I felt the armbar was tight, and I didn't even know I didn't even know at the time like the most basic like escape, you know, counter
how
to
to
it.
get out of it.
How to get out of it. Oh damn, I got caught. Okay, and then I thought, okay, you know what? I just won't tap out. My ego was like, I just won't tap out. The ref saw the agony in my face and called it off. And then Guru Dan Innocento afterwards came up to me and said, man, kid, you showed a lot of heart. So that was a win in some ways. But going back to what I was trying to say earlier was that it revealed to me that actually all my martial arts training was not useless, but almost useless. Like I really still didn't know how to fight.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And you hear this a lot. I remember reading Conor McGregor's coach's book, Kavanagh.
John Kavanagh.
John Kavanagh, in his book, the same thing. Like he'd been training martial arts all his life. All of a sudden, he gets into a street scuffle and he just gets completely obliterated. And he really took it personally. And I know that feeling because I took my loss extremely personally. I thought it was because of me as a person, but now in retrospect, I'm like, it's because I just didn't have the knowledge. If I don't have the knowledge, then I'm not going to stand a chance. You know what I mean? But it was an important moment in my life because it reminded me that I wasn't in LA to be a fighter. I'm here to be an actor. And funnily enough, you know, on that fight card, right? So check this out. On that fight card that I fought on, there were 2 directors of the John Wick films on there.
Really?
Back then they weren't. Obviously, it was Chad Stahelski, who's now and the other, I forget the gentleman's name, but he was on that card too. But he also directed one of the John Wick films. You know, Eric Paulson was the one teaching Shuto at the time.
Wow.
At there. In fact, I remember I didn't even know the most basic counter to an armbar, but I remember Eric Paulson teaching me like leg locks.
Is this on YouTube somewhere? I'm gonna have to watch it.
I don't think so. This is like way before. Like I saw the fight card recently, and it's like black and white, and I'm gonna have to throw it up on my Instagram at some point.
Do you find that like you've obviously been doing a lot of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Yeah.
And I always find that when you train in fighting and you train in martial arts and any type of discipline, you learn a lot about yourself.
Yeah.
You learn about your limits, how much punishment you can take. Like just getting hit in the face is like a skill, like knowing how to get hit in the face.
Yeah.
With you, now that you've kind of fallen back in love with kind of martial arts and all that stuff, have you found anything that you've kind of like learned about yourself through like practicing all these disciplines and stuff?
So, you know, it's a great question because like for a long time I had thought over the years that I'd want to get back into martial arts, and I'd be like, what do I want to get into, you know? Oh, no. Now, maybe for a while, for 6 months I did kendo, and then, you know, for a while I dabbled in a few things. And then one day a friend of mine we were horsing around and we started wrestling a little bit, and then I remember thinking, oh yeah, I enjoy this. You know? Yeah, I do want to wrestle another human being. You know what I mean? Like, and I actually enjoy getting smashed. I think like getting humbled is a really good thing because it's healthy for you, and obviously like at the stage of the game that I'm at with BJJ, I'm getting smashed a lot, and then of course as I'm learning techniques and rolling and when I am able to pull off something that I've learned, then it's just even more gratifying. But the thing I discovered was what I was missing. I missed that competitive feeling of competing with another human being, and because there's a part of myself that when I'm competing with someone physically, or in a sport, that at some point, like I may be tired, I may want to give up, but then some part of me that's just like that, whatever it is, the reptilian brain or something part of you that's like, nah, man, you're gonna have to like take me to the edge, Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I tap when someone gets me. I don't let it get too far now. So, oh, you got me in the chin.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I got nothing to prove now. So I think for me, like coming back to martial arts has been really gratifying, because back when I was as a young man, I wanted to be the best I could be. Whereas like now, my goals are a lot different. I've got nothing to prove. I'm not going to be a world champion. I learn martial arts. I learn BJJ because I enjoy it. I enjoy the friendly competition. And
what was it? Yeah. What was it maybe about BJJ that you picked specifically? Why that? Why not go into like Taekwondo or something?
So
like that?
I do box right now. I box and do some Muay Thai, and I do spar. I do spar when I box and stuff. But my coach is like a world champ, right? Ekapol Juke.
Yeah.
He's awesome, right? He's amazing, and he I spar with him, and like he nails me like 100 times before I even get like one shot in. So, but he's so well controlled, and I really enjoy sparring with him. But that's my point. One of the reasons why I love BJJ is because you can spar. You really can spar, and that means you that your skills. You know whether your stuff works or not. If that was a problem before. Like if I hit pads and kick a bag and do traditional martial arts, I'll never know if I can actually compete with another human being.
Yeah, I guess it's a different thing to get on the mat with another person.
Whereas jiu-jitsu, there's you're rolling with someone. So those skills that you learn, they're valuable. They're worth something. And that's what I enjoy. But for the longest time, I didn't get into BJJ because I was like, the idea of like rolling on the ground with a bunch of sweaty people was just disgusting to me. But I've gotten over that now, and I'm that disgusting person now. Yeah.
What Andrew Koji's skills? Does he take martial arts as seriously? He plays Arsam, the lead character in Warrior.
Yeah.
Do you two push each other like that way, or?
Man, he is a really dedicated, hardworking person. His work ethic is second to none, and I really admire that. And the amount of effort he put into the fighting, and he already had amazing kicks in season 1, but between season 1 and season 2, he went to Korea, and he just practiced kicks with like the national Taekwondo team.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
the guys that like train with the military. And he already had amazing kicks, and then his kicks just got just that much sharper and pretty. And so yeah, he was one of these guys, kind of like me. He was really into martial arts growing up, and he's a gymnast, so he can do tricks and all kinds of stuff. And then I think like most actors, him and I are similar in this way. We probably were actors for a while, and then got a bit jaded, and then kind of like dropped off a bit on the martial arts, and then kind of came back to it. He didn't take quite a big of a break as I did, but yeah, he's.
I gotta ask, because for people who aren't fans of Warrior, he plays the Bruce Lee archetype, right?
Yes.
He plays the character that Bruce Lee would have played.
Yeah.
Have you had any conversations with him about like the weight of that? Because that's gotta be a bit crazy, because you're basically playing Bruce Lee.
Yeah. So it's that's a great question, and you know what? I did have that conversation with him, and you know when I had that conversation with him? It was the first conversation I had with him.
Oh, you
I
serious?
literally, I was there in Cape Town, and I arrived, and someone wanted to show me the backlot, the Chinatown backlot set. So I walked out there, and then Andrew happened to be there, and we're like, "Hey, what's up? How you doing?" And instantly, he's such a. In this way, he was just he opened up to me immediately. Like he was like, "Hey, man," and he's just telling me about the pressure that he was feeling, the responsibility that he felt, and and how everyone's like, "Hey man, you're Bruce Lee, you're Bruce Lee, you're Bruce Lee. You got to be like Bruce Lee. You got to be like Bruce Lee." It's just like, whoa. It's like, man, I'm feeling the pressure, and I said to him, I said, "Dude, you were hired because of you. You're not a mannequin that looks exactly like Bruce Lee. You're playing Assam, a character that Bruce would have played.
Yeah.
You are not playing Bruce Lee. So you own it. And if anything, like I always say, just like Bruce Lee said, follow that philosophy. Express yourself honestly in this role, and don't, because eventually when people start to forget the Bruce Lee and leave their bias behind, they will see the amazing, beautiful work that Andrew does as Assam. I think there's been not a controversy, but some people are like, oh, he's not Bruce Lee. It's like, he ain't Bruce Lee. He's Assam.
Well, he's kind of brought his own flavor to the character.
And he has to. He has to. You would not be doing Bruce Lee justice if he was just trying to like mimic him. Yeah. He has to bring himself, which means that he's got to be himself. And so that was our very first conversation, and I've had that conversation with him a few times, and I always, man, no, you're doing it right. You be you. You do you.
Yeah, I can't imagine like the weight of that and trying to like, because you talked about obviously interesting story is that you originally auditioned for that role,
That's right,
but then you obviously realized that you were much more suited for Young June, which we 100% agree with.
Yeah, like
not that you couldn't have been.
No, exactly, exactly. It's not that. I mean, look, I'm an actor. I can do. I'm a journeyman. I can play all the roles. I'm a journeyman, but when it comes to Young June, I'm the star.
But that's an interesting story, though, because you obviously, if you're coming on to a Bruce Lee treatment show, wanting to play the Bruce Lee character. I don't know, maybe tell fans that story really quickly, because I think it's just about the fact that you originally auditioned for Hassan, right?
Yeah. So originally, I think it was like 2017, I think it was, like so the middle of the year. I get contacted by Alexa Fogel, who's a big time casting director, works in Hollywood. She cast Ozark, Atlanta, a whole bunch of shows, and she's casting this new show, Warrior, and she wants me to read for this Bruce Lee archetype character called Assam. And so, man, I was like, oh, man, okay, let's do this. And at the time, actually, when I did the audition, I had a perfect Bruce Lee haircut, even like it was just by pure coincidence, and I remember between takes, I was like doing dips just to make sure, roll camera, hold on, dips, and I thought I did a decent job, like a professional job, like I think they would have watched it and they would have said, okay, yeah, he's an actor, but I didn't feel like, you know what I mean? I just didn't feel like I was I wasn't in the right time in my life for it. Maybe if I was a bit younger, that might have been the right role for me, maybe. But I also had this exact same feeling at the same time that, man, I bet you there's another role. I just had this gut feeling. I'm like, if he's in it, if that's the one, there's got to be other characters, and I bet you there's going to be a really amazing role in this for me that I will be absolutely perfect for. And sure enough, they did not call me back. and months went by, and I just forgot about it. As an actor, like at some point, you just when I do auditions now, my wife's always asking me, "So how did it go? Did you hear back?" I'm like, "Honey, once it's done, I don't think about it.
Yeah, it's out of your mind.
It's done. Otherwise, it just eats you up, right?" So I just forgot about it, and then months go by, and then I get a frantic phone call. "Oh, we want you to read for another role," and I'm like. Of course you do. Of course you do. And they're like, oh, it's this role, Young June, and clearly they're now in the crunch time. They're coming down to the final decision making moments. Yeah. What I found out subsequently was that Justin Lin and all the powers that be, when they came to make the final decision, Justin was like, okay, so where's Jason? I've seen all the tapes, met all the people. Where's Jason? He said, oh, we read him for Assam, and we didn't think he was right for it. He's like, no, not Assam.
Wow.
You need to read him for Youngjun. So all of a sudden, that's when
That's a good guy to have in your corner. Too,
bro,
Justin
right?
Lin, right?
Hey, like what a friendship, and what a guy. He, I owe him more than one. But because they were coming to the crunch, and I guess because they hadn't found a Youngjun, they all gave me a ton of notes, right? Like Jonathan Chopper gave me a ton of notes, Justin Lin gave me a ton of notes, Alexa Fogel gave me a ton of notes, and essentially the notes were, play him chill, right? Like just don't go crazy. It was basically the note.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you sure? Because I read the script, I read this character, I'm like, Youngjun looks like he's a pretty vivacious type of guy,
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, if everyone's telling me to do it, I am a professional, I'll do as they say. So I did I played it like it was The Godfather. Actually one day I'm gonna release release that audition because
That
it's
original,
hilarious.
yeah,
Because it's
yeah.
hilarious, man. I'm like so chill, man. Yeah. So some it's just and it was the scene where I'm celebrating him coming back from prison. Where I'm like on the bar, like celebrating, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I'm playing it super chill. And then of course, like within an hour or two, I get a call back. No. We need to see the energy. We need to see like the life of this guy. I'm like, yeah. And I took all the notes and I threw it out. And I only took one note, and that's from Bruce Lee. And Bruce Lee was like, you know what? Honestly, express yourself. Own this thing. Beep. Yeah. Own this, right? And I just went for it, man. I think I did 1 or 2 takes. I even threw in some improv, like just, you know what? I know this guy. I got it.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like once I felt in the body, for me, being in character is like when I start to feel it in my body. Some actors are all about the eyes and look. No, man. Like you've got to be the character from your toe to your.
Did they feel it too? Like once you came back that second time,
oh,
were they like,
man,
this is it?
Dude,
Yeah,
after I sent in the second the audition for Youngjun, it was like,
Contracts
okay, so who's your agent? Let's okay.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey,
Yeah, man.
that must have been such a good feeling because it was like,
yes. Well, it was such a yo-yo because like when I came back from that first audition, the one I played all chill. I sat in my kitchen. I came home. I went to the kitchen, opened the fridge. You got a drink. And I just sat in my kitchen. And I was like, I freaking suck. What am I doing? And then of course, like once I did it the second time, I'm like, man, I'm pretty awesome. It was such a win, man. I have to say, like it was such a sweet victory.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was just, to get a TV show. Some people get a TV show like this, but it took me a long time. And all of a sudden, like this journeyman who'd been like, man, the most unsexy jobs that, as an actor I've done. Like the lowest of the lowest, and paid my dues, and then all of a sudden, like, I got called up to the Premiership, and I'm playing for Liverpool, and I'm playing alongside or United or whatever. I'm playing with like the top. I'm playing for a top team, and not only am I playing with a top team, but I'm a star player. It was just such a sweet,
you're like the
sweet
Masvidal of acting. If we want to use the MMA
I would.
analogy,
Hey man, what a compliment! What a compliment! What a compliment! Although I am
now
not.
You're blown up, aren't you?
Yeah,
exactly. Where's my title shot, man?
Yeah.
The
BMF.
BMF.
Challenge Masvidal.
Challenge. Actually, I recently I've become friends with Eddie Cha, Henry Cejudo and Korean Zombies striking coach, and he was a fan of my film Better Luck Tomorrow, and recently he watched Warrior. He's a huge now fan of Warrior, and he asked me the same question. He's like, dude, why aren't you blowing up? And I haven't responded to him yet, but I'm going to write to him like, man, I kind of feel like Cejudo before his second DJ match, where like I've paid my dues, but like, bring me my title shot, man. Come on, let's go.
Well, we're not going to be able to get you back on after the release of Fast and Furious.
Fast and Furious.
We'll have to
in season 2.
Go through his publicist and make an interview
You'll never come back
request.
to Hong Kong. You'll be living in-
No, man. No. I'm a Hong Kong boy, it's, I'll be happy to talk about Bruce Lee anytime, and martial arts and MMA anytime. You know.
I just want to say, Jason, man, I think it's been totally cool. It's funny because we did obviously a magazine profile of you on weeks back, and I've had people ask me like, "Oh, what's Jason Tobin like?" And I'm like, "He's just a cool dude."
Oh, thank you so
and
much,
I think
man.
it's kind of refreshing.
Concur there.
Yeah, when you
Thank
get
you.
to meet like a big movie star and they just turn out to be a regular dude. So
Thanks, guys.
we're very.
Appreciate
It's
it.
super cool to have you come in here and do this with us. So.
Hey, man, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your support, and please have me back sometime.
Sure.
Let's talk MMA again.
Yeah,
talk
sure.
Bruce Lee
And I
again.
can't wait for Warrior Series 2. So thank you everyone for joining us on what's been a special edition of the Post-Fight Podcast. Little different than what we normally do, but I hope you all enjoy it. And yeah, as Jason says, he's going to come back and talk about MMA sometime. So yeah,
Let's talk some fights.
thanks, thanks everyone for watching, and thank you Patrick for jumping in and helping out here. And we'll see you again after a while.
Nice.